Welcome to the Dropship Podcast, where you'll learn how to build and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business and hear stories from successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Let's kick this thing off. Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. Welcome back after a break. We ran a bunch of replays, some of our greatest hits over the 4th of July. Our listens tend to go down. I bet if you're running a business, your sales might have went down a little bit too during the holidays. That happens, but we're back. We have an awesome episode that kind of follows up on what we've been talking about there. We showed you how to start a dropshipping business in 8 steps. We showed you all of our tips and tricks around calling suppliers. And then we, threw in a little bit of John's story, a little bit of my story on my birthday there. And what's next? Launching your site, right? We've launched, we put it up. Where do we focus our efforts to get the greatest results? I think a lot of people launched to no fanfare, John. They think I launched and then nothing happens, right? Or traffic starts coming in. But what do you do? How do you move forward? How do you make things happen, right? Because traffic's coming, but maybe sales aren't coming right away. And what can we focus on here? And so you said you get asked this all the time on coaching calls. And so you kind of outlined this. I'm happy to chime in where it's helpful. But what are the 4 priorities? They just launched. What are the 4 priorities they should have? Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get this question, because when you're building the business, it's kind of a very linear process. And it's usually pretty much the same for everybody, right? Like you go through the steps, build a website, call suppliers, do all that sort of thing. It's always the same. But when you get to you're launched, now it's kind of like the world is your oyster, man. Like you can do, there's all these things out there you could be doing. You could be doing them all at once. You could be doing them one after the other. And I think sometimes people get a little lost there. Like at that point, like, oh, right, now I've got traffic. What do I do? What do I do next? Where do I focus my energy? And I think there is... you do have, I think, much more chance when you get to that point that you're going to get distracted or you're going to focus on things that maybe you don't need to focus on, or you're going to focus on things too much, spend too much time doing one thing and not enough on another. So I think it is helpful for people to have a little bit of direction there, just to stay on track. So yeah, there really is 4 things. When I'm asked that question, there's 4 things that I say to people. So the first thing is, you're running traffic now. You've got traffic. You're running Google ads, Google shopping ads. And so you're starting to spend some money. Hopefully you're getting your first sales as well at that time. But there's going to be opportunities there, right? The day you switch on ads and all of that sort of thing, Google's going to start sending you a whole bunch of traffic. Some of it's going to be great. Some of it's going to be not so great. Right? Some of it's going to be worth spending money on. Some of it you're not going to want to spend too much money on. And so you've got to start managing your ad account, managing your ads, building your negative keyword lists, finding areas where you could bid more, areas you might want to bid less. You're going to start identifying which products customers like to click on and which ones are not really getting much love. And so learning how to manage a Google Ads account, because you've learned how to set it up and set up the campaigns, and you've got to get comfortable with the management of that, is one of your first priorities, because there is, if it's not managed appropriately, then there's a chance that you're going to be throwing a bit of money away, to irrelevant clicks or whatever it might be. So you want to stay on top of that, but I think the thing I would say is don't stay too on top of it, right? So I see some people who'll be like, as soon as they start running traffic, they're staring at their Google Ads account for like hours a day. And it's kind of like, you don't need to do it that much, right? But, get in there a few times a week, do a bit of work, make some improvements, make some optimizations, and that's like an ongoing task for, some time after you launch your business, right? I think it gets a bit less over time as you build things up. You don't need to look at it quite so often, but that's definitely the first thing.
Let's be real. The very first week or two when you launch your site, were you looking at anything other than Google Analytics and just watching the bubbles pop up and, please go to checkout, please go to checkout. Oh, they're at checkout. Oh, baby. Oh, they're gone. Shit. That's all I did. I just stared at analytics and, refreshed Shopify. Same thing when I was first started selling these dog supplements on Amazon. It was like, refresh, one sale. Yeah. And so it's hard to stay focused because you're just excited, right? You're excited that you finally did something. It's a big emotional thing for you to put something out into the world that probably took a lot of effort, probably took a lot of demons to fight through, right? And you got there. And so it's very easy to either not focus on anything or just kind of wait and hope rather than go attack, like you're kind of referencing here, John. Get in that Google Ads account, but get in, get out, right? Get in there, fix it.
Yeah.
Pay attention to where the traffic's going, and then probably should work on some other things to convert that traffic.
Yep, definitely. And so that's the next step is to start looking at, you want to kind of work with what you've got. At that point, what you've got is, you've got your website now, you've got products on it, you know exactly which suppliers you're working with, you know exactly which suppliers you're selling. Earlier in the piece, when you first set your website up, you didn't actually know. You knew what products you wanted to sell, like what types of products you wanted to sell. You had an idea about that. But once you've called your suppliers, you probably got knocked back by some. You might have a slightly different mix of product types on your site than what you originally thought you were going to do, just based on the suppliers you ended up getting approved with. And just some things maybe you didn't even consider you might want to sell that you got access to from those suppliers. And you're like, hey, now I sell this and that and the other as well. And now you're getting traffic. So you've got a site, you've got traffic, right? And you've got to look at, what can I do to get the most out of what I've got, right? So you've got this paid traffic that you're paying for. And you've got your site. And so you start doing conversion rate optimization work. And some of the first, and now as well that you're paying for traffic, as I mentioned, you're going to know which products are getting, there will be products on your site that are just getting more attention than others, right? You always tend to see like an 80-20 kind of effect. There'll be some products that just get a ton of clicks. And so you can identify those from your ads or your Google Analytics. And then if you've got ones that are getting lots of clicks, for example, but they're not making any, you're not seeing any sales coming through, now you can start going and trying to work out, why is that? Why are people coming and looking at this product, but they're not buying it? And so a big part of that, and one of the first exercises that we get people to do in Dropship Breakthru is you're a reseller, right? When you're high-ticket dropshipping, you're a reseller. There is somebody else selling exactly the same product that you're selling, right? There might be 5 other people who are selling exactly the same product as you're selling. And so your customer generally knows that as well, particularly on Google Shopping, right? It's a comparison shopping engine. So customer searches for a product, they're going to see different ads for the same product from different sellers. And so when you're a reseller, it's not just about promoting a product and making an argument, a marketing argument about why somebody should buy that product. It's also about communicating to people why they should buy that product from you, right? Because they can also buy it from 5 other people. So why are they buying it from you? Sure, they're convinced about the product. They know the product's great. What's going on in their mind is also partly, where should I buy it from? Right? And so you've got to start making that argument. Now, you haven't set that up when you set up your site, that argument, because you didn't yet know exactly what you were going to be selling. You didn't know what brands you were going to be selling. You didn't know exactly who you would be competing against for those products. But now you do, right? So you can go out and say, right, for this brand, who else is selling this brand? What other sites? Who am I competing against? You can map them out. Are they the same price as me? How does their shipping compare? Do they offer any other value adds in there? What's their returns policy, et cetera, et cetera? And so there's an actual exercise in our course we take people through where they put all of that into a spreadsheet and identify where are the gaps in the market. Like, what are people saying? Maybe nobody has a good returns policy. Can I attack that? Maybe there's actually 3 people who have a lower price than me that I hadn't even realized about yet. That's going to have an effect on your conversion rate, right? And so you go through an exercise like that, particularly for your products that are getting more traction. And invariably, when you do that, you'll start to notice things about your market that you had no idea about before, right? And you can then take that knowledge and start adding to your site, improving your product pages, putting missing bits of information in there, maybe changing things about your shipping, maybe changing things about your pricing. There could be quite a few options here. And that in turn is then going to start to help you to get more value from the traffic that you're paying for in the beginning. It's going to start to help you improve your conversion rate and your place in your market.
Yeah, I've got a couple things. One, and I told you we should have just called this section this. Answer your fucking phone. If your phone's been ringing and you're not answering it, you are missing sales, plain and simple, and you're missing information. You have an opportunity to talk to your future customer and hear directly from them the words they're using, the problems they have, the questions they have, and how you can address that on your product page. And I think it's important to really think through what you have on your product page in two fashions. One is like, who are you actually talking to? And did you just do copy pasta from your manufacturer? If so, go in there and write directly to the person. And then the other thing that I like to do is, my wife's great at this. I'll just tell her to look at it. Hey, what do you think of this page? And she will immediately tell me 10 things that she sees wrong with it that I didn't see because I'm a marketer or I'm a beginner or whatever. And they're going to have good advice. So if you can take your website on a phone, a product page, one of the 3 products that's getting all this traffic, and have your spouse, have your mom or dad, have your buddy, have your grandparents, have anyone look at it, they're going to point out a bunch of stuff on there that you just completely overlooked, or why they wouldn't buy or why they wouldn't trust you. They're honestly great resources in the beginning of your journey and throughout the journey. I don't want to share this one publicly, but somebody pretty prominent sent me some stuff, and I had my wife look at it, and she immediately was like, here's 10 things I would do different. And this is like, my wife is not a marketer. She still falls for all the tricks that I play every day. You know what I mean? The marketing gimmicks that are out there, she still falls for them. And so she is just a discerning eye. And I bet you have someone like that in your life who can just look at it and say, hey, why do you have this here? Or, man, it took a long time to find your actual description. Or, geez, these buttons are huge, or these graphics are huge, or, man, these images slide funny. Or just random things that would make a big, big difference on your product pages.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else I'm often find myself telling people who are at the start of their journey with a new site to do is absolutely answer the phone. But also, when you answer the phone, don't be like just on the receiving end. Like, be a bit active with that call in that provide the service the person's calling to get, but then ask them something in return, right? Like, so if somebody's there and you've been talking to them about a product, ask them, is there any reason you wouldn't buy this product from us? Is there anything holding you back from buying this product today? Are you looking at this product on any other websites? Right? Ask 10 people that. If they all say they're looking at the same other website, you write them there, no, who's your main competitor? Who have you got to beat? Like, who have you got to do a better job than? You just got to focus in there, right? And so, customer service in the beginning is so important. If nothing else, it's an opportunity to learn from people, because I think you're absolutely right. As marketers, often I think we get a little bit too far into, our own asses, and we miss things that people who are not marketers see. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we often look at our desktop too, right? We're building on a computer. You have to. And so we're constantly like, oh, it doesn't look right. I need these to look right. And then go grab your iPhone or whatever you got and like look on there. And I think you'd be shocked at how horrendous it looks, and then go look at analytics and see that 80 to 90% of your traffic's coming on a mobile phone. You'd be like, oh, I should probably think more about how this looks on a phone. And to John's point, I guarantee your grandma or your mom or your dad or somebody's going to look at your page and just shit all over you. And you need that. You need someone to see it with a objective eye, which you don't have in the beginning.
Yeah, totally. So that's a great exercise, like the conversion rate optimization thing. There's so many different things in there, but you just got to go out and learn. Yeah, like in the beginning, you're really learning about your market. You're learning about how to make yourself different. You're learning about your customers and about their needs, and you'll start pulling that together and building that into your site. Now, the next thing you need to be doing after you launch, and once again, I say this many times. This thing has tripped people up, right? So when you go, and we've just recently had some episodes about calling suppliers, but you're going to go in the beginning, you're going to build a supplier list. Maybe let's say you got 30 names on there, 30 companies that you could call, probably not an unusual number, particularly in the US. You're going to go out and call them, and you're going to get some no's. You're going to get some yeses. You're going to get some that just don't get back to you. You're going to get some that don't answer the phone that you never got in touch with. And you're going to come to the point where you've got maybe like 6 suppliers, and you're like, well, I could go and launch my site now. Right, that's enough. And it is enough. You could go and launch with that. But a mistake that I see people make is that they get a handful of suppliers and go to launch their business, which is absolutely the right thing to do, right? You want to go and make your first sales, get some traffic. But then they get really focused on the marketing stuff and forget about adding more suppliers to their site, right? And they stop doing that. They just stick with what they've got. And they're like, well, I'll just work with these until I make enough sales, and then I'll go back and call some others. I want to prove that this niche works or whatever it is. And if I don't make any sales, I'm going to know that this doesn't work, right? So I'm not going to expend any more time on that. Now, that's actually a really big problem, right? And it's, once again, an example of why it's really hard for beginners to work out when they're failing and why they fail, right? Doing that can create a false negative about your niche, because in every niche, there are some brands that sell really well and there's some that don't. Always. I've seen it in every single high-ticket dropshipping niche I've ever looked at. There is no niche where you walk in and you sell exactly the same amount of every product and every brand on your site, right? It doesn't exist. So the risk is when you go into a market or a niche with 30 potential suppliers, you'll never get them all, right? But there's 30, and you start with a smaller selection of them, that you actually started with the selection of suppliers that people don't really want to buy online. They might sell really well offline or something like that, but people just aren't really buying them a lot online at the moment. You start with just them with the mindset that I'm going to use these guys to prove this niche works. You don't sell many of them because nobody really wants to buy them. When if you had this 5 over here, you'd be doing 100K a month, but you've got this one here and you don't, and you go, oh, this is a shit niche. It's not working. This high-ticket dropshipping thing doesn't work, right? I'm going to go and quit. I've seen people do this where I sat them down and say, no, get back on the phone, call these other 10 suppliers, because I bet you'll make more sales with them on board. So that's what you need to do. You launch your business, get right back on the phone and start calling back the suppliers that you haven't got on your site yet, and keep working on that for the next 6 months or the next 12 months until you feel like you've really exhausted that shit. And then come back to it once every 6 months after that. Like it's not something you ever stop, but I see people pulling out and stopping doing that work all the time, and it's the wrong thing to do. Yes, uploading products sucks. Yeah. But you've got to do it, right? You've got to find those top-selling products and the top-selling brands. You've got to find them. That's your job.
Sometimes I feel like you're talking to me and we're not recording a podcast, because the first half, not the second half of like this niche doesn't work, but the first half where you're like, you get some on board, it's a lot of work, right? Calling them, playing the back and forth game, getting them uploaded on your site, running ads. And you might make some sales. And then you're like, I'm just going to stick with these till I get it all sorted out. I'm currently in that trap. And so sometimes, you might put John and I up on a pedestal, but I'm suffering from this right now. So thanks for the kick in the ass, John. I appreciate that. Fuck. Call suppliers. Add some more brands. Damn it.
Yeah.
What else you got, John? What's the fourth one?
The fourth one is start working on SEO. Right? I mean, it's no secret. We love SEO. We've said it so many times on this podcast over our, whatever we're up to, 180, 190 episodes or something at the time of recording this, somewhere around there. SEO is the number one traffic source for high-ticket dropshipping, but it does take a bit longer to get that ball rolling, right? Compared to Google Ads. You can't switch SEO on overnight. You can't start getting that traffic at any great rate immediately. So you do have to get the ball rolling, and it is like a ball, and it starts rolling down the hill. It picks up snow or whatever that analogy is, and it gets bigger and bigger, right? But you've got to get it rolling. You've got to start pushing. And there are a lot of things, like not even complex or difficult things. There are just a lot of things that you've little bits and pieces you've got to do on your site, and make sure your site's optimized in particular ways to lay the foundation for great SEO. And I think starting to learn about it and implement it, because there is some learning there, right? I mean, it's, if you're coming to dropshipping, you've never done online marketing before, you're not going to know a thing about SEO, which is normal. That's where most people are at. So you've got to start educating yourself about it, and then you've got to start doing it. And early on is the perfect time to do it, because you don't want to get 2 years into your journey of running ads and be like, man, I really wish I had some organic traffic that I didn't have to pay for every day. Because by that time, it can feel like a lot more work to go back and start building it. Whereas if you start, I think, gradually in the start and you build a good foundation when you're actually setting up your business, I think it makes it a lot easier down the track.
Yeah, I'm curious where you would tell people to start, because it's hard to wrap your head around it all, right? There's a reason we have we just had Leighton Taylor, my business partner from Envision.io, come do a whole section on just technical SEO, just code changes you should make in your Shopify business to help Google be able to understand you better. There's a lot to learn there. We've been through this on podcasts before of like the principles here. So if you can nail down that every like one keyword, one page, if you can nail that down, that's a good start. Now go understand what people are searching and why they're searching it. And the beauty of you just started running ads, you're going to see where people are going on your site. So you don't need to go do this research for your entire site. You can kind of narrow it down to specific products or specific categories that are getting more traffic on your site than other categories. And you can start there. The best place you can do this is, imagine you're selling e-bikes. For the love of God, don't sell e-bikes. But imagine you're selling e-bikes. Go to answerthepublic.com and just put the word e-bike in there and hit go. And then just wait for it to populate. And it's going to give you every question on the internet about e-bikes. And now you really just need to start asking yourself, like, why is someone asking this question? Is it an informational return? Is it a commercial return? Are they looking for a listicle type article? And start informing yourself on the different types of content Google is looking for based on the question or the search term someone is using on your website. And just get familiar with that. Are they searching a term because they want to buy a product? Great. This should probably go on a product page. Are they searching a term where they're looking for a category of items? Great. That should probably go on a collection page. Google's going to return you collection pages. Is it a question? Google probably wants an informational type page, a blog or a page, and just get familiar with what Google wants in your industry and the questions people are having. This will lead to their entire customer journey along the way, and you'll be able to parse that out into content for your site. But understand where that traffic's going first so that you're not putting out content on a million different things. Hopefully, like John said, it'll likely be an 80-20 thing or even a 90-10 thing in the beginning, and start building content around those products. What questions are people asking around those products? The real wins, I think, in the beginning, John, are the comparisons. Like if you're really getting traffic to, let's say, 5 products, go to Google, open a new window, search something so that it started. Now type that product name in and hit space, hit versus, hit space, and see if people are comparing that product to another. You should write that piece of content and you should compare those two products. Hopefully you have both products on your site. Is most of the traffic going to one or two brands? Do the same thing with the brand name. Go to Google and type in the brand name and hit versus. Are people comparing brands? Are people comparing products within those brands to each other? Right? Is there a Memphis 700 and a Memphis 500? People are comparing them. You should have this content. You should have that written on your product pages. These are the things people are looking for answers, for which people are looking for answers, and you should be answering them. And that alone will make you the authority in your industry. You will hopefully be answering questions that aren't being answered elsewhere. And slowly but surely, you'll realize what should go on a product page, what should go on a collection page, what you should target on an informational page, whether you should build a listicle. And it will be a long game, and there is a lot to learn. But the only way you're going to learn is doing it. And you probably make some mistakes that you'll have to go back and fix later. But like that's the name of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'll throw in there as well. I think, talking about things early on. I mean, you've got to find a good source of knowledge for that stuff. I think SEO, there's a lot of different opinions out there on SEO, and there's a lot of different advice out there. And not all SEO is the same either. So like SEO for a local-based service business is not the same as SEO for a e-commerce brand that's trying to sell nationally online only, right? It's two different types of SEO in a lot of ways. And so you don't apply one to the other. And so I think, obviously slightly self-interested here. We're a good source of that knowledge, but you should kind of find somebody you feel you can trust that, provide solid advice and kind of use them to help you learn the stuff and where you should start and what you should do.
It is a long game, though. Like once you start wrapping your head around it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to answer 100 questions around every category and potentially every product and potentially every brand on my site. And it can feel overwhelming. So use the data you have to start small, focus on one thing, become an authority on one thing, and then expand from there. And slowly but surely, Google will start giving you respect, assuming you're doing this correctly. Again, pump for our course all you want, John. I think I don't think there's anyone teaching it the way we teach it. And so get your technical right, get your on-page right, then start building some links. Or if you build good enough content, links are going to start coming anyway because you become an authority. And slowly but surely, the tide will raise all of the boats, all of the pages on your site. And it really becomes kind of fun when you look at it in reverse and see that trajectory going up and up and up, and sales start rolling in. And SEO, I don't know, it's so fun to me. It's just, it does take time.
Yeah, it takes time, but the opportunity is massive. And all of those options that you're going to have, when you get into it, you're going to be like, oh, wow, there's so many different keywords and pages I could have and content I could write. And yeah, it can seem kind of overwhelming, but at the same time, I know you've seen it. Just the power of hitting one keyword really well and what that can deliver for your business over time, that means that really overwhelming thing is actually a massive list of opportunities. And how awesome is it to have so much opportunity? Imagine if you were standing there saying, oh, fuck, I don't know what to do. I can't see any opportunities for me to grow my traffic. Instead, you've got this massive list of, you just hit 10 of those really well. It's going to change your business. You don't even have to hit 100 of them really well. Even just 10 of them might equal, 20, 30,000 extra visits a month to your site. That's massive, right? And that's exciting. So exciting, for sure.
It kind of brings you back around, right? So you said focus on Google Ads. If you just use it in SEO terms, you're going to go back and look at your keyword list and how you sorted them out and where you can go next. And then you're going to have to be like, okay, now I'm getting traffic to this page. How do I turn that into, bringing them to their solution, which is the product? And then I probably should give them more options, more suppliers, and I need to learn a little more SEO. And it's just going to be this cycle of growth. But the game only gets bigger and more fun as you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthru, where John and I will walk you through step by step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthru will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level. So head over to dropshipbreakthru.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.